I'm Catherine McHugh and I'm a Research Associate for Pilot Technologies at Ulster University. So today I'm just going to briefly discuss the process that was involved in reaching out to the stakeholders for the user engagement workshops, and then how we used this information and inputted it into a stakeholders report, and then how these findings helped to develop the IoT strategy document. So basically the aim of the workshops was to discuss and gather stakeholders' feedback for us to be able to identify best practice among the 3 regions in Scotland, Northern Ireland and Sweden, and then from this to establish a key baseline. So the aim of the workshop was to have individual workshops for the private and public sectors, but we then wanted to have this follow-up workshop that would bring both sectors together and also be able to discuss as a unit the strategy document and discuss the findings from that. And the opinions from the key stakeholders helped to co-design the strategy document, and it was a document that will be used for all of Europe, and it will hopefully develop more non-clinical IoT to offer innovation opportunities among healthcare providers and other public bodies. So the overall aim is providing guidelines for best practice, and this will be included in the strategy document, and hopefully these can be used to support and implement non-clinical IoT projects going forward. So the process, as Lee mentioned, started to begin last spring and summer when we were involved with engagement sessions with many stakeholders among the 3 regions. And throughout these user awareness engagement sessions, we started to build relationships with the key stakeholders, and we also outlined the tested project's aims and outputs. And we also let them know that there would be a workshop coming up in the summer and then a follow-up in the autumn. We would greatly appreciate their feedback and input into these workshops. So the workshops, the first 2 were in August. The first one was the public stakeholders, which involved the health organisations among the 3 regions, and as well some of the academics from the universities. And then the private stakeholders were the SMEs. And then, as I've already mentioned then, we used the feedback from the 2 individual workshops in August to update the IoT strategy document. And then we had a follow-up workshop in November where we showed the draft version of the strategy document to the key stakeholders, and we also then gathered more feedback and discussion to update it further to finalise the document. Sorry, my mouse froze. So within each of these workshops, we had discussions built into 4 sections. So the first section was involvement in non-clinical IoT. And when we met with the key stakeholders, they were able to identify existing non-clinical IoT among their regions and any related problems associated with this. And because of the large group of stakeholders, and then as well as the various different types of stakeholders, we had lots of experience and expertise attending this workshop. And I forgot to mention at the start, the workshops we decided worked best to have the 3 regions attending the 1 workshop. So all the public stakeholders from the 3 regions attended the first workshop in August, and then all the private stakeholders from the 3 regions attended the second workshop. So having all the stakeholders involved in the discussion provided lots of expertise and knowledge within this area. And then the second area that we focused on within the workshops was the risks, challenges and improvements. And there was a number of risks highlighted throughout this. I'll not go into too much detail because they'll be covered in the strategy document that Francis will be discussing, but they ranged from limited resources, poor procurement procedures, data management issues, financial risk, public funding, etc. And then the third section was to identify the needs and how we could support and manage these. And this led to further discussion in terms of specific needs of the customers and the supportive measures of how to address these. And then the last section was implementing the IoT strategy, and the stakeholders provided useful suggestions for this in how to guide the implementation. And again, this ranged from funding sources, piloting schemes, leadership roles, forums, and dissemination pathways. So once we had the 3 workshops, we were then able to draft up a stakeholders report and write up the findings from this workshop. And as I've already mentioned, the 3 workshops together provided lots of different, it was really engaging from all the stakeholders, and they provided information in all those 4 areas. And from this then we were able to develop the first 5 stages of the strategy document. So as I said, Francis will go through the document, but the first 5 stages focused on the benefits of a test bed, developing the baseline, summarising existing structures, and then identifying key stakeholders and developing the strategy. And finally, the main aim then of the strategy document, as well as having the document in place, it's going to have an easily replicate toolkit that people can use going forward in terms of templates and processes. And the overall goal is that these templates can be used for best practice throughout Europe, and it will hopefully support and implement further IoT projects. And the implementation will be flexible for each region, and hopefully will be able to be used going forward. And this is where I'm going to link in now with Francis. So Francis will go into more detail on the toolkit and what these templates look like and discuss these within the group. Thanks. I'm just going to stop sharing.